Transitioning to the live case, can I ask you a few questions? Okay.
Sure thing, CJ.
First of all, technical issue. You can use a 19 or a 22 needle. What circumstance makes you pick either one? Coil size,
small vessel, small
size?
needle. Big varix, big needle. You have to because you need to use a big coil.
Okay. You know, it seems glue actually works pretty well in fundal varices, and this could be a lot of technical add-on to accomplish the goal. But what I want to direct you towards is not the fundal varix, but what about ectopic varices, pericholedochal varices? Where do you see this technique?
Yes, I think this would be, and actually, so as you know, Michael Levy in your group, he reported the first case of using coils alone for the treatment of ectopic gastric varices. I believe that was his series, and he also told me of another series that may be published shortly, or perhaps has already been published, where he treated other ectopic sites, not just gastric, but also duodenal and choledochal, pericholedochal varices, or collaterals that bled. So yes, I think these are would even be better indications because obviously with fundal varices you have great endoscopic access, right, and visualization. So I will admit you can do this all under endoscopic guidance. The reason for EUS is if you want to use coils. So if you want to stick just with the glue, you don't need to do it under EUS guidance. Having said that, I remember having debates with Todd Barron about EUS-guided pseudocyst drainage versus endoscopic-guided pseudocyst drainage, and guess who's doing all of his pseudocyst drainage now under EUS guidance? So, I think if you could see that vessel, you just, you want to have that certainty that you're delivering your therapy into your target.
Yep, it can be a long road to realization. But how, and the other question, and we have a question from the audience. Greg Haber has a question, but the feeding vasculature, how easy or difficult is that for your average endosonographer? I mean, is it grossly apparent, or you really need some considerable experience in that anatomy?
So for these gastric varices, these are huge targets, and I think that they're, it's like almost like a small pseudocyst or so. These are very large targets. But if you're trying to go after Dillefoy, for example, obviously you have a much smaller target, but then you're using a 22 gauge needle as well. So we're used to targeting, very small lesions in the pancreas. If you can target a small neuroendocrine tumor in the pancreas, a centimeter, right, or less, then you can do this. So again, it's an extension of what you're already doing. So I don't think there's a special skill set that you need to develop. If you're doing FNA, you're doing, good volumes of that, and you're proficient at FNA, targeting small lesions, and you're proficient at using Doppler and identifying vessels, then I think you should be able to easily evolve to EUS-guided vascular therapy.
I'm going to put a request from Mumbai. Are there any questions from that end of the world? We'd be happy to have Ken entertain those. In the meantime, Greg has a question.
Can you hear us? Can you hear me? Sorry. Hi, Ken. Can you hear us? Hello. Testing. Can you hear me, Ken?
Yes, I can. Hi, Greg.
Okay, good. Hi. A couple of questions, Ken, just technically. Any problem in terms of embolization of the glue in the EUS needle? And do you prime it at all with Lipiodol, or do you do anything in advance to make sure, let's say if you have to have 2 or 3 injections rather than just 1 ml? How do you handle that?
Those are great questions. I was going to go into that a little bit, hopefully with our live case. But so for the, very quickly, depends on what kind of glue you use, right? So if you're using N-butyl-2-cyanoacrylate, that's the histoacryl. Indermil, for example, would be one of the products. If you probably do need to dilute it with Lipiodol if you want to slow down the polymerization time, because otherwise it can polymerize in your needle as you're injecting, or you have to inject very quickly.
Ken, I'm going to interrupt you. We're going to have to switch to the live case right now. But we'll cover that during your case.
Yeah,
okay?
we'll have time to discuss that in our live case. Okay. Good.